This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Oil benchmark Brent edged lower on Wednesday as concern over a global economic slowdown overshadowed supply cuts announced this week by top crude exporters Saudi Arabia and Russia. Brent crude was down 16 cents, or 0.2%, at $76.09 a barrel by 10:45 GMT after falling more than $1 earlier in the session. The benchmark closed with a $1.60 gain on Tuesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude traded at $71.22, up $1.43, or 2.05%, from Monday's close.
Additional oil output and export cuts made by Saudi Arabia and Russia earlier this week should be enough to help balance the oil market, United Arab Emirates Energy Minister Suhail al-Mazroui told reporters on Wednesday. OPEC+, which pumps around 40% of the world's crude, has been cutting oil output since November in the face of flagging prices. Saudi Arabia and Russia, the world's biggest oil exporters, deepened oil supply cuts on Monday in an effort to send prices higher.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
India bought 60% of all Russian Urals oil exports in June with strong demand from all refiners, while shipments to China dropped to just 7% as independent refiners slowed buying, trading sources and Refinitiv Icon data showed. Urals is Russia's main export grade from its European ports and represents about a half of total Russian oil exports. The country, subject to severe Western sanctions over its actions in Ukraine, also exports oil from its Pacific ports, its Arctic ports and via a direct pipeline to China. Russia has heavily relied on India, China, Turkey and Bulgaria for oil sales since the imposition of sanctions.
Morgan Stanley on Wednesday lowered its oil price forecasts, predicting a market surplus in the first half of 2024 with non-OPEC supply growing faster than demand next year. The Wall Street Bank cut its Brent price outlook for the third quarter this year to $75 from $77.50 per barrel and lowered its fourth quarter forecast to $70 from $75. It also cut its forecasts for 2024 by $5, and now sees prices at $70 in the first quarter, at $72.50 in the second, and at $75.80 for the final two quarters, respectively.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Prices for copper and other base metals fell in London on Wednesday under pressure from global services activity data that darkened the demand outlook for growth-dependent metals. Benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange, LME, traded 1.1% down at $8,265 a metric ton in official open outcry trading. Prices for the metal used in power and construction have retreated by 1% so far this year owing to a slower-than-expected post-pandemic recovery for top consumer China.
India's finished steel purchases from China touched a six-year high in the first 2 months of the fiscal year beginning in April, according to provisional government data reviewed by Reuters, while its overall imports reached a three-year high. In April and May, China emerged as the second biggest steel exporter to India, selling 0.2 million metric tons of the alloy, up 62% from the same period a year earlier. Imports from China accounted for a quarter of India's finished steel imports during the period. India imported 0.9 million metric tons of finished steel in April and May, the highest since 2021 and up 27% from a year earlier, the data showed. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Ukraine's grain exports for the new 2023-24 season stood at 276,000 metric tons as of July 5, Agriculture Ministry data showed on Wednesday. The volume included 191,000 tons of corn, 65,000 tons of wheat and 20,000 tons of barley. The ministry did not give an exact comparison for the same date a year ago but said that Ukraine had exported 163,000 tons of grain as of July 6, 2022. Exports for the entire 2022-23 season were almost 49 million tons, exceeding the previous season's 48.4 million tons.
That is all for today's news on commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.